Córdoba has that serene charm. Mountains, lakes, winding roads, with 1,000 curves that reveal enchanting landscapes, and its towns or cities scattered along the way, with a peaceful life that we tourists dare to interrupt for a moment. On this road trip through Argentina that we took from Uruguay, we visited some places that we've already seen in previous videos. And to wrap up this trip, we'll leave the route we took through Córdoba to visit La Falda, and there, the historic and perhaps mysterious Edén Hotel. The route will take us through places like La Cumbre, Villa Giardino, or Cosquín, and several others, some of which we've already seen in videos. We hope you enjoy this journey as much as we did. Travel companions, get ready, fasten your seatbelts because we're starting. We woke up in Villa Carlos Paz, the tourist city we saw in the previous video. Our eagerness to hit the road made us have a quick breakfast. It was the month of May. The day was cloudy and rainy, and everything made us think that maybe it wasn't the best day to hit the road or to shoot footage for a video. The destination was, as we said, La Falda, but if we could, and the weather didn't get any worse, we wanted to go a little higher in this Punilla Valley and reach, since it's very close, La Cumbre. And from there, we started to show you, to keep an order from north to south. We made this visit to Edén from Villa Carlos Paz, where we were staying for 2 nights, and we went back to sleep at the villa. And the next day, we went down to Villa General Belgrano, where we would spend 2 more days. La Cumbre. We arrived at La Cumbre. In the distance, you can see English-style mansions, and that's no coincidence. This place started as a railway station at the top of the Punilla Valley, and it was the English who transformed it. With their architecture and their style, the distance from Villa Carlos Paz to here is a little over 60 kilometers. These buildings, Carafa Avenue, mainly between Rivadavia and Belgrano streets, they are historic buildings that date back to the early years of the 20th century, and their facades, over a century old, are practically intact. We just walked through its quiet streets and discovered a city worth visiting. Another time, so we can visit places like the house where Mujica Lainez lived, which is now a museum called El Paraíso, or the impressive Christ the Redeemer, which stands with spectacular views. We continue on our way. Now we'll make a brief stop in Villa Giardino, 9 kilometers away. Villa Giardino. It's known as the Garden of Punilla, and like in all the places we've visited, we're struck by how orderly and well kept it is. But like in all these places, since we're just passing through, we'll have to come back. Because we found out later that we could have done the artisan's route between La Cumbre and Villa Giardino. It's a dirt road, but with artisan houses and organic farms. Just like Tea's Mill, built in 1930. Only 6 kilometers separated us now from La Falda, passing through Huerta Grande. La Falda. La Falda is located at the foot of 2 hills, Cerro Cuadrado and Cerro La Banderita, which are part of the mountain range known as Sierras Chicas, and it is the 3rd most populated city in Punilla. The truth is that it's very picturesque. La Falda was born among hills and ravines, like a mountain village, at the end of the 19th century when the first families began to settle in these lands. Because of its privileged climate, the big boost came around that time, with the arrival of the railroad, which connected it to Córdoba city and attracted those who were looking for rest and fresh air. At the beginning of the 20th century, its fame grew thanks to the Edén Hotel, inaugurated in 1898, one of the most luxurious hotels in South America. In its time, it welcomed figures such as Albert Einstein and the Prince of Wales. Although its history was also marked by ties to Nazism in the 1930s, the Edén is now an icon filled with mystery and memory. Over the years, La Falda has become a mountain tourist destination, with festivals, cultural life, and a strong local identity that blends nature, history, and relaxation. We were drawn to come to the Eden Hotel, but there are more things to do, like a trekking trail on Banderita Hill, the Siete Cascadas Resort, the Archaeological Museum, and more attractions. But now, we've finally arrived at the Eden Hotel. Passing through the gate that welcomes us is like quickly stepping back in time. We're going back to the late 1800s. The first summer season of this famous hotel estate was in 1897-1898. That summer, still partially under construction, it welcomed its first tourists. That place would, over the years, become the town of La Falda. It is open every day from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and the visit is guided. I highly recommend it because you will feel like you are traveling back in time, and throughout the entire tour, you'll be getting information from guides who don't miss a single detail to share with us. The entrance fee is 5,000 Argentine pesos, which is about $4.50. No reservation is needed for daytime visits. On arrival, wait for the group to leave, then join them. But the hotel also offers nighttime tours, for which you do need to make a reservation. They take place on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's a tour guided only by the guide's flashlight. It's esoteric and mysterious in nature, talking about myths, legends, and apparitions. Anyway, I'll leave you the hotel's website so you can check for your dates. But let's go in, travel companions, come with us. In 1997, a grand hotel was built in Huerta Grande. While it was under construction, a railway stop was established between Casa Grande and Huerta Grande, which would be called Kilometer 78. The materials for the construction of the hotel were brought from Europe, and only the local lime was used. The hotel was inaugurated in 1898. The first guests arrived in January, and by March, the hotel's construction and installation were finished. It was built as a place of rest for wealthy families from Argentina and Europe. The mountain climate was considered healthy for tuberculosis patients and an attraction for travelers from the Northern Hemisphere who wanted to escape the harshness of winter. In 1912, brothers Walter and Bruno Einhorn acquired the La Falda Ranch, along with the Eden Hotel business. In 1913, the Eden Hotel. Since they did not achieve the expected income and had to pay off the mortgage, the urbanization of Villa Eden began, and they started offering lots for sale to friends and guests of the hotel. The period of greatest splendor was between the second decade of the 20th century and World War II. This hotel was the setting for major events and received visits from important figures, among them Albert Einstein and the Prince of Wales, Presidents Julio Argentino Roca, Agustín Pejusto, the Nicaraguan poet Rubén Darío, as well as families from the Argentine oligarchy and European nobility. The 1920s would find the couple, Walter and Ida Einhorn, quite often. In Germany, they come across their country in ruins, plunged into a deep socio-economic crisis. And there they accepted the invitation of some friends and went to a local Munich beer hall where they listened for the first time at a meeting to the man who would become the Third Reich. His speech managed to win over the Einhorns, who decided from that moment on to help him financially, and as a result, a friendship began between them. From here is where we start to understand why this hotel is so closely linked to the Nazis. Some even say that Adolf Hitler lived here for a while after he was presumed dead. In the early 1930s, the Einhorns sent large sums of money to Germany, where the Nazi Party used them for crucial political campaigns. This relationship quickly became public among the locals and hotel guests. The world was going through the 1930 crisis, but nothing seemed to disturb the skirt. Thanks to the events of the 1930s, the Einhorn Brothers Company became known as Edén Hotel, Incorporated, and the town is granted its own municipality, La Falda, breaking away from Huerta Grande forever. The city of La Falda. It began with great momentum, a frenzied subdivision of land, and the birth of numerous businesses and public institutions. In December 1939, the German battleship Graf Spee was sunk by its own crew. After the Battle of the River Plate, around 1,000 sailors arrived in Argentina. 20 of them came to La Falda, and 7 began working for the Edén Hotel. If you remember our video about Villa General Belgrano, we mentioned that many of them also went to the town to settle there. If you're enjoying the video and feel inspired to explore this part of Córdoba, subscribe so you won't miss our videos, guides, both in Argentina and in other countries that we feature on the channel, as well as to like the video and share it with your friends. What I'm telling you is just a small part of everything you'll hear from the guide. You can experience what it was like to be in the hotel, both as a guest and as an employee, the operation of the hotel in its glory days, as well as photos of its illustrious visitors. And we'll finish the visit with a wine tasting in La Cava. The hotel closed its doors as accommodation in 1965, and then, unfortunately, fell into abandonment. In 1998, the municipality of the city of La Falda acquired the property at a judicial auction due to unpaid taxes. Declared a municipal historic monument and a provincial monument of interest, and since they did not have the necessary funds for the maintenance and restoration of the establishment, it was put up for tender in 2007 to a local businessman who took the initiative to restore it. Today, we can see how it continues to be restored. And as we said, we have the opportunity to take a guided tour. With the satisfaction of having been able to visit the legendary hotel, we continued on our way. Our next stop would be Cosquín, which was only 20 kilometers away. Cosquín! Also located in the Punilla Valley, surrounded by mountains and crossed by the Cosquín River, this town is an ideal destination to enjoy nature, cultural tourism, and folk music. If anything defines Cosquín, it's its National Folklore Festival, the country's most important of its kind. Since 1961, every January, Prospero Molina Square becomes the stage where established and emerging artists celebrate music, dance, and national identity. The shout of "Here Cosquín" marks the beginning of 9 unforgettable nights that bring together thousands of people from all over the country. More than just an event, the festival turned Cosquín into a symbol of Argentine tradition. Besides the stage, The whole city comes alive during those days with folk clubs, craft fairs, and spontaneous gatherings that keep the folk roots alive all year round. It's a pleasure to see the place we've seen so many times in festival broadcasts. Back in Villa Carlos Paz, we visited the San Roque Dam, but I won't go into detail because we have it in a special video, just like the villa and the Altas Cumbres road we took before arriving in Carlos Paz. All these videos I've mentioned are linked in the description. The San Roque Dam is one of the most iconic engineering works in Córdoba, inaugurated at the end of the 19th century. At the time, it was the largest reservoir in South America, and its main purpose was to regulate the flow of the Suquía River and supply drinking water to the city of Córdoba, as well as generate electricity. In addition to its functional importance, the natural surroundings have turned it into a tourist attraction in its own right. Today, it's an ideal place to enjoy walks, and a must-see if you're spending a few days in Villa Carlos Paz. That's exactly what we did, and we show it to you in the Carlos Paz video. Another place we visited the day before, the day we arrived in Villa Carlos Paz, was the Altas Cumbres road. We traveled from Mina Clavero to Carlos Paz and stayed in the town. The landscapes are truly wonderful. These images we're seeing, as I mentioned, are from the previous day. Thank you. But we already have all of this in a video, along with Villa Carlos Paz, this town that receives a lot of tourism and where we stayed for 2 nights. I'll leave the video in the description if you want to see the arrival through the high peaks and the city, as well as accommodation and dinners. The next day, we would leave this Punilla Valley to keep heading down to Villa General Belgrano. First, we passed through Alta Gracia, in the Parabachasca Valley. The town of Alta Gracia. It was chosen by the Jesuit order for the construction of an impressive estate, declared a World Heritage Site by United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. As you can see, the weather wasn't cooperating at all today, and it was a shame, both for traveling and for stopping to visit places. Music? Currently, the National Museum Casa del Viceroy Liniers operates in this estate, and it preserves its old church and traditional reservoir. In addition, this city is home to 2 very important museums, the Manuel de Falla Museum and the Ernesto Che Guevara Museum, which attracts the interest of those passionate about music and Latin American history. We were now taking Route 5, a very scenic route, but as I was saying, the weather wasn't on our side. Along provincial route number 5, among rolling hills and postcard landscapes, stands the Los Molinos Dam, one of Córdoba's water treasures. Inaugurated in 1953, its construction not only allowed the regulation of the river of the same name, but also made it possible to generate hydroelectric power and supply water to a large part of the region. Over time, the reservoir became a sought-after destination for those who enjoy nature. Its shores invite you to stop, take photos, fish, or simply contemplate the immensity of the lake. It's a must-stop for those of us traveling the mountain road toward the Calamuchita Valley. The views are truly beautiful. It's a shame the sun is missing. And we arrived at Villa General Belgrano, in Calamuchita, the place where we would stay and from where we would later visit La Cumbrechita. But there are already 2 videos about all this published on the channel. In these brief 4 days, Córdoba showed us different places, and all of them were beautiful. Villa General Belgrano has an alpine feel in its buildings, just like La Cumbrecita. We stayed 2 days in the village, and also went to visit La Cumbrecita. And as you can see, the sun came out. But all of this is detailed with hotels and dinners in 2 videos, one for each place. This is how our journey through Argentina ends, but here we leave you the complete list of videos.